Welcome to this, our December 2nd, 2025 Water and Sewer Utility Board meeting. First question out would be for the board members. Is there anything that you have seen in the consent agenda that you would like to take out and discuss at another time in the meeting? Seeing nothing, then we'll move on then to the consent agenda, which will consist of the minutes of the Water and Sewer Utility Board meeting on November the 18th of this year, 2025. The payroll week ending November the 16th of 2025, which was for $456,653.72. The payroll week ending November the 23rd of 2025, which was for $194,284.24. We also includes accounts payable voucher register, the pay request, which is found in Appendix A, the water and sewer acceptance for maintenance, and approval to extend the public services trash and recycling collection contract for another 1 year, and approval to extend the Republic Services street sweeping contract for 1 year. Also, acceptance of the Enlow Field easement from Evansville Vanderburg School Corporation. And this is the consent, what is on the consent agenda, and I would entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I vote aye, and the motion carries. The next is new business, and there's a bid. And so we have openings for a bid opening for the 2026 water and wastewater treatment chemicals. This is being recommended by Jacob Wallace. Good afternoon, Jacob.
Good afternoon, President and members of the board, but I'm not Jacob Wallace. I'm Ethan Elliser, standing in for Jacob.
Say that again.
I'm Ethan Elliser, the water quality manager.
Apologize for that.
No worries. The last minute stand-in. Couldn't find anything else.
Okay. And I have, so let's move on to the bids then, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Have you had a chance to look at one of these to see where it's, you probably will find the price?
I can't open it. A good try.
Following change should have made to the.
That's just the thing that would be the term.
There we go. Okay, our first bidder is see,
No, not that. This is still just the slabs.
here it comes. This is what we read it off of then.
Yeah, that's, well, yeah, I think that's it.
But where's the no, where's the who's bidding?
But that might just be an example.
Huh? What's that? Okay, we got it out of order, but it's not being good. Sorry for that delay.
No worries here.
Okay, our first bid is from Brentag Mid-South Incorporated, and their bid is 0.8650. 0.8650.
Per pound.
Huh? Yes. And answer a few questions, yes, per pound. Okay.
Maybe that's the only bid.
That was the only bit.
Yep.
You already knew that too. What would you like to do with this?
I would like to take it under advisement for approval at a later board meeting.
Okay. May I have a motion that we take this under advisement, please? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I voted aye also, so the motion carries. We'll take it under advisement.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Under new business, under the Water General Fund, we have approved the bid recommendation in the amount of $672,736.50 to BMB Inc. for the Park Street, Shanklin Avenue to Florida Street Water Main Replacement Project. It's being recommended by Jennifer Kane and Ryan Meyer. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm seeking approval of the award to BMB. 5 bids were received at the meeting on November 18th and reviewed by our in-house designer. All of the bid items were submitted and found to be in compliance with the bid specifications. During the review of the proposal from BMB, mathematical errors were discovered with pay items number 6 and 22. They were resolved in accordance with part 1.20 of section 100. The errors did change the bid amount from $667,286.50 that were read at the bid opening to $672,736.50. The bids were also reviewed by city purchasing, and a positive recommendation was received to move forward with the award. The bid was 3.4% lower than the engineer's estimate. And I recommend approval to award to BMB in the amount stated.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the bid recommendation in the amount of $672,706.50 to BMB Inc. for the Park Street, Shanklin Avenue to Florida Street Water Main Replacement Project. I have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. I vote aye and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is to approve the bid recommendation in the amount of $264,807 to Rego Inc. for the William L. Brooks Drive, Oak Hill Road to Hidden Road Water Main Replacement Project. This is being recommended by Jennifer Kane and Ryan Meyer.
I'm seeking approval of the award to Regal. 7 bids were received at the meeting on November 18th and reviewed by our in-house designer. All the required bid items were submitted by Regal and found to be in compliance with the bid specifications. The bids were also reviewed by city purchasing, and a positive recommendation was received to move forward with the award. The bid was 20% lower than the engineer's estimate. And I recommend approval of the award to Regal in the amount stated.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to approve the bid recommendation in the amount of $264,807 to Regal Inc. for the William L. Brooks Drive, Oak Hill Road to Heaton Road Water Main Replacement Project.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. I vote aye. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is to approve the change order number 1 in the decreased amount of $260.73 to Dyke Brothers Lumber and Construction for the filters 13-20 pipe gallery rehab and replacement 2019, recommended by Logan Booth and Ryan Meyer. The new contract amount would be $1,478,214.27. Tell us about this.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you.
This change order number one, is a final change order. It is strictly an administrative cleanup to deduct the remaining balance of $260.73 from the owner's allowance for additional work that was included in the commitment. As I mentioned, this is a final closeout cleanup change order. This time I recommend it for approval.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments for Logan? Seeing none, then I would entertain a motion for approval of the change order number one in the decreased amount of $260.73 to Dyke Brothers Lumber and Construction for the filters 13-20 pipe gallery rehab and replacement 2019.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I vote aye. The motion carries. Thank you. The next piece of business is new business under the sewer general fund, and it's to approve the bid recommendation in the amount of $340,000 to Dyke Brothers Lumber and Construction, Inc. for the East WWTP Headworks Building 59 Flow Channel Planking Replacement Project. This is being recommended by Logan Booth and Ryan Meyer.
Thank you again. So at the November 18th board meeting, 2 bids were received for this project, opened and read aloud. The 2 bids were taken under review by our designer on the project, which is Powers Engineering. Upon review of the submitted bids, it was apparent that Dyke Brothers is the apparent lowest responsible and responsive bidder, with a total base bid of $350,000 and a total alternate bid of $340,000. At this time, EWSU is electing to go with the alternate bid amount, which represented using aluminum rather than stainless steel on this project. The lowest bidder on the project was Melk. However, during review by the engineer, the bidder was found to be both non-responsive and non-responsible for a variety of reasons. And so at this time, the recommendation is to go with Dyke Brothers as the awarded contractor. This review was given a second review by EWSU's legal counsel, and ARPA was concurring with the recommendation of the designer. So at this time, we'd recommend award to Dyke Brothers. Be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Do we have any questions or comments for Logan?
Real quick, just for clarification, if somebody we determines non-responsive, do we give them an opportunity to be responsive, or is it a one-shot deal where they didn't do it, so their bid's thrown out?
I'd have to defer to Sean on that one, or potentially Marco.
If there are mathematical errors or some non-substantive deficiencies, we have the right to do that. Unfortunately, in this case, these were substantive. There were information that was to be included in the bid that was not included in the bid, and so we consider that to be non-responsive.
Thank you.
For the East WWTP Headworks Building 59 Flow Channel Planking Replacement Project.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I vote aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now this is miscellaneous. The first item that we have up is our 2025 backfill summary.
Hi, good afternoon. Under the Fair and Accurate Credit Transaction Act of 2003, the utility is required to identify and respond to account activities that are possible indicators or red flags. To date, we know of no instances of identity theft that have resulted from access of any of our accounts. And we don't recommend a change to the program. We don't recommend any change to the program. Thank you.
Next is approval of the 2026 Evansville Water and Sewer Utility Budget by Keith. Sir.
President Odorn, members of the board. It's about a month ago, I came here and presented the budgets for 2026, and I've given you a few weeks to review them. If you got any questions over them, but now I'm back today to ask for approval of that budget. The sewer budget has already been reviewed and approved at city council. So the water budget is still outstanding to be approved by this board.
Do you have any questions for Keith?
I have one question, sir. Why is the sewer budget approved by council and not this board, but the water budget is?
The city council, it's part of that joint agreement. City council oversees the sewer side. It's gone, Marco could probably go, it goes back years, and they control the budget for the sewer side, and the rates, everything has to do with that side of it. The city council isn't controlling that.
The water side is controlled by the IURC and is outside the purview of the city council as far as the budget expenditures and income go, which is why we approve the water budget and city council approved the sewer budget. We also have traditionally as a board approved the sewer budget as well, but ultimately the control of the budget rests with city council.
Thank you.
Seeing none, then you'd like to have a motion for approval, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion for approval of the 2026 Evansville Water and Sewer Utility Board budget.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Vote aye, and the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is finance ordinance number F2025-19, amended for additional appropriations. This is being approved by the city council by Keith Penny.
Yes. So this was approved appropriations, additional appropriations that took to city council last night. We had our second hearing, second reading, and it was approved in finance order F-2025-19. But I wanted to bring it here to make it official for you to be aware of the changes of the funds that we had to request. So I will read through those real quick. So under contractual services, the utility, we are requested $961,000. This was $440,000 for electrical services at the East Plant, $150,000 for electrical services at Sunrise Pump Station, $56,000 for watering services at the East Plant. That was more due to when we reorganized and we split the budgets of the East, the West lift station. Some dollars didn't get appropriated during that budget. We knew we might run into that issue this year. So that's what that 56,000 is from. For the West Plant, we're asking for an additional $310,000 for electrical cost and $5,000 for the West Plant for gas. Doesn't necessarily mean we will spend every penny of that. That's our estimate to get through the rest of this year. So whatever we don't spend, it will go back into cash. The next one is for personnel. We asked for a total of $388,224 at the West Plant. We asked for $2,000 for other, $205,000 for overtime, and then Social Security was $16,725, and PERF was $31,045. A big chunk of that was due to the significant weather events we've had this year, between the ice storms, the flooding, stations having to be monitored, manned 24 hours during those events. We've had a lot of them this year. So overtime has been up. And then at the sewage lift stations, we had an additional $108,067 in overtime. Social Security was 8,892, and PERF was 16,505. So that was approved last night. And then in supplies, requested the East Plant an additional $25,000 for fuel and oil. That was mainly due to the restructuring part. That was one account we didn't split up properly, and we were short on that side. At the East Plant, we asked for an additional $140,000 for chemicals due to just increased costs and tariffs. At the West Plant, we asked for an additional $210,000 for chemicals for the same reason. And I brought that total to $375,000 for supplies. And then the last one was for joint cost. It was approved in a total of $2,028,525.02. The joint cost is what utility services that are required by both utilities, but instead of splitting all of our purchase orders and paying them, trying to split all the invoices and pay them individually, we budget them under the water side, and then we share out that as we bill the sewer side for joint cost to recoup that part. The reason you see this large change on here, when we went through restructuring of our IT services going into this year, due to the timing of when budgets had to be submitted versus when we knew all the costs we were going to have on IT, joint costs was under estimated. We expected that was going to happen. So this is kind of the true up to this year's budget to get joint costs where they should be now that we've gone through those transitions and everything. If you look at joint cost increase of 2024 over 2025, the increase was like $300,000 year over year. So this $2 million seems like it's a lot, but year over growth, it was only $300,000. So it wasn't that much of a change. It's a correction. And then, like I said, we had to get it approved to make it official. So, but like I said, these were approved at City Council last night, and I just wanted to read this in so you're aware of them. So, thank you for your time.
You.
Thank you.
Okay, do any of the board members have anything that they'd like to bring before this meeting? Do you, Vic, have anything as the executive director that you'd like to bring up? So next in is there anyone in the audience that has anything they'd like to bring before this meeting? Okay. Would you come to the podium and state your name, please?
Hello. Board, my name is James Whitman. I'm the owner of Tri-State Grease and Septic Company. I'm not sure if you guys are aware or not, but we recently received a letter a week ago that the treatment plant was no longer going to be taking fog. That was the first we've heard about fog not being taken there with just over 30 days notice, which will be a drastic change in the city as well as my business and other people in the audience's businesses. A couple months before that, we were told they were going to take septic out of there. We were going to be able to come up with a way to dispose of septic into the sewer and our own locations. We're still working through some of that, I think, and haven't got all the answers we need to get to be able to do that. But what we have received is this letter saying that January 1st, if not sooner, if there's not a equipment failure, that we won't be able to pretty much operate our business how we have been. This has kind of been treated like a public utility in our eyes. It's been offered. Years ago, we tried to create our own system to dispose of fog, and we were told by EWSU that that wouldn't be allowed because they took care of that, and so we proceeded to dispose of it through the treatment plant from the east side. So, like I said, that there's probably 800 grease traps in Vandenberg County that are going to be affected by this. This has to be trucked, to a neighboring state or hours away. It's probably going to triple the cost on some of these small businesses. I feel like it's going to shut them down. Some of them, they have trouble paying now the way it is. It's all the schools, churches, anywhere with a commercial kitchen is going to be affected. So I just, want to make sure we're looking at all the consequences. With the septic, even creating a disposal site is going to be an expense, that we have to find a property, we have to buy that property and then, construct this site in the time frame we're given. Seems to be impossible at this point. So, I think we've got some members from the health department here, and I hope they can speak on it, that the issues we may run into without a disposal site. And, like I said, whether or not that's EWSU's responsibility, but as a city, I think it's a service we need to be able to offer to our residents the size of the city. And I would hope, as board members, we can look into, maybe considering some different options for this. You'd like to comment?
I really, this is a very complicated problem. We presented,
Yeah, I think one more thing. The thing I left out when we talked to Vic about this at the last meeting I attended, his recommendation was to take it to American Grease and Septic, who is supposed to be building a plant, which is one of our competitors. So, I mean, obviously anybody who knows anything about business would know how that would work for me to take a product to my competitor, what price they're going to charge me compared. So to me, that's going to allow them to create a monopoly. Why, they would create a treatment plant, not knowing this until November 25th, but Vic says they already have a treatment plant in process. And that was his recommendation to me. That didn't seem like a feasible recommendation from Executive Director Vic Kelson for me to, operate my business like that. So that was the one thing I think I did left out. Sorry.
okay, so for clarity, we presented the fact that we were going to be discontinuing service back in July. The haulers were here for that meeting. We've been talking about it ever since. At the time, we were still trying to figure out what to do about fog. But we made it clear at that meeting back in July that everyone should be making alternative plans. Our waste haulers, to my understanding, and Daniel Claspel can clarify this, our waste haulers don't only bring it here, they have the ability to take it to other locations. Our fog station is frequently out of service, and they don't fail to haul the stuff away when our system is out of service. The fact is that there are a lot of problems with the system that we have. It is inadequate for the way that the loads are actually brought to us, particularly the septic side. I know all the haulers who were in attendance at our previous meetings were in agreement that we shouldn't be putting septic in the fog station, which is where we're putting it. We don't have another septic receiving station. The problem with putting septic in the fog station is the fluid that goes into the pump station, into the fog station, goes directly to our digesters. The septic waste has a lot of fiber in it from toilet paper and other materials that are in the waste. That material collects in the digester. It does not digest, which means after a number of years, we have to clean the digesters, which costs millions of dollars and is highly disruptive of our operation. The fog station actually sits inside the operating area of our plant, which means that trucks have to get in and out. At the time we started dealing with this this summer, one of the concerns we had was large tanker trucks. It's very difficult to operate our facility with large tanker trucks instead of just regular septic trucks rolling in and out. The other problem is that our fog station has very limited capacity. So if a couple of tanker trucks come in first thing in the morning and they fill it up, everybody else has to wait until we pump it out, and it pumps out very slowly.
That's a new problem that just arose within the last 8 months.
So
there's an issue that wasn't maintained.
Pardon me,
and
I have the floor.
Okay.
So that problem's been going on for some time. The traffic lines up outside the gate. We can't close the gate, which means that we have a security issue at the plant. We need to be able to close our gates in order to protect the facility, to protect the employees that are working in the facility, and to protect the members of the public who might come into the plant in an unauthorized fashion. If anyone gets hurt on the facility that shouldn't be there, we're still liable for anything that happens to them on our property. So we've got a lot of problems. We have a facility that doesn't work. It costs us far more to operate it than we're receiving in revenues from operating it. One of the reasons that our facility is desirable is that we have the lowest tipping fees of anybody in the area by a factor of probably 3. And in order for us to operate a fog and septic receiving station here, we will need to completely renovate what we're doing, probably move it outside of the perimeter fence in order to secure the facility and build a fog station that will do the work that needs to do adequately. The problem there is that we receive very little hauled waste as an actual fact. And if we go and invest all of that money in the fog station, it's going to raise our tipping fees probably by a factor of 4 or 5, which is beyond any of the other receiving stations that are available in the area. So this is an accident of history, the way the thing was configured and the way it was set up. But we have not been able to figure out how to keep it operating in its current configuration over the long haul. It's financially insolvent. It fails frequently because we're putting the wrong kinds of waste in it. And it prevents us from being able to secure the site. So we need to stop receiving at that location. With the septic haulers, the board has approved a design standard for receiving septic at other locations in our collection system. That has a huge advantage for us operationally in that we aren't dumping, first of all, we're not dumping it into the digester. Historically, we used to dump it at the head of the plant. The problem is hauled septic waste has a lot of ammonia in it, and it disrupts the treatment process in our plant and causes potential ammonia violations or certainly control issues. So receiving septage at the head of the plant is not desirable for us. It is far better to receive septage out in the collection system where it can commingle with the rest of the waste on its way to the plant. It's also beneficial, I would think, for the haulers to not have to drive all the way down to the river to dump septic waste. Also, a lot of the septic waste does not come from inside Vanderburgh County. If our fog station and septic station is not paying for itself, if the tipping fees don't pay for that service, that means residential and commercial and industrial customers of the sewer utility are subsidizing septic customers outside of our service area. That's not right. Our customers should not have to bear the burden of paying for septic treatment for people who don't live in the service area. So regardless, if we could fix it in its current configuration, the price will have to go up. It will have to go up substantially because it definitely has to pay for itself. If we have to do capital improvements, it needs to pay for those. If it means we have to clean a digester, it needs to pay for that. So our conclusion was we can't do those things with the current station in a manner that would be priced within the market. And we would, if we priced it at what it costs, if we took the true costs of the current operation and allocated across the gallons that we're receiving, we would have no customers because our price would be too high. And that's why we reached the conclusion that we did. Now, as far as the comment about American Grease and Septic, my comment was that there is a company that's planning to do grease treatment here nearby. There is a wastewater plant in Chandler that used to receive fog, but their station was down for major maintenance. I don't know if it's back in service now. I know another one of our fog haulers is considering a treatment facility of their own as well, as could any of the haulers that wanted to could pair together to do that. My feeling is that we can see how this works out. And then once as the market shifts around, when American Grease and Septic, we know that they're building a station. It is not in service. They're still in the final stages of permitting, as I understand. I can't speak for them. But if that facility comes online, they may receive hauled waste. They may not. I don't know for certain. But there may be other opportunities here locally in town in the future. But right now, all I'm saying is we can't operate this thing economically, and we can't operate it, certainly can't operate it the way we're operating it right now at a cost that anybody can afford to pay.
We relinquish the floor.
Yes.
Thank you. One thing I want to comment, I think I've been operating this business for 9 years. There hasn't been an increase though, so 9 years. So that may not be, I don't know whose fault that is. A slow increase over time would have made sense like most businesses have. But so that's part of the problem, that if we've been running at a negative, maybe there should have been, like I said, slower increases. The other thing I think we're leaving out is the fog program was created. And I think why we started taking it in the city was to get the fog out of the pipes all around the city, all the sewers and everything. So the cost, for these restaurants to clean their grease traps that was what the fog program. So I'm sure in the beginning it wasn't initially thought it was going to make money for the sewer department or pay for itself, but it was a necessary thing to offer for the, county and city restaurants to be able to, have a way to get rid of the grease. So, like I said, I would hope some of you guys will do some investigating and maybe we can change. I mean, the other thing is the time frame, like 35 days, this has been operating. We've been putting toilet paper in the digester for, 10 years. Now in 35 days, we've got to change that and, make drastic changes to our business. So, for me to operate my business and to truck, waste out of state or, to the closest place, I'm going to have to, hire people, buy more trucks, semis, tankers. It's not a overnight process that can be managed. So I just don't know if we were treated properly, as long-term customers to just kind of get this thrown on us at the end of the year. And I would hope there's other people in the audience that would have some things to add to it. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jim.
Not very good at this.
Could you state your name, please?
Mike Autry. I run Autry Septic Tank Service. I've been bringing waste into treatment plant probably last 15 years. I do more grease than I do septic in Vandenberg County. It's Owensboro, so it's going to be a hassle for me to pack it back to Owensboro versus dumping here. The cost for the customers, you're looking at 3 times. It's a 3-hour round trip the time you dump your truck go to Owensboro. Regardless if I live here, it's a 3-hour round trip. The time you commute, you're talking about right now, most of these grease traps are 30 cents a gallon. You're going 3 times that. A customer cannot handle that much increase on a grease trap. They're not wanting to pay the 30 cents now. I don't know what the fix is. I don't understand why they got rid of burning the turning the gases off from the plant. That was the initial thing, I think, that they burnt the gases, the fired electricity at the plant. And from what I read, it was powering 30% of the plant at the time.
Do we have any other comments?
Um,
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to be in a big argument on at this point.
Hello, my name's Christopher Dix with Nick Sanitary Service. We've been in business for in the 70s, probably around 75 years. I'm fourth generation myself. We've been going to this treatment plant for quite a long time. We went to the Chandler treatment plant until they shut down. He said the whole 30 days, we got 30 days notice. They sent us a email to our AOL, which we haven't had in quite a few years. So we didn't even know until PSF gave us a call and said, hey, what are you guys doing about this? And we had no idea. So here we are with 30 days. And I've been driving around. I've got a list here of probably 20 different treatment plants I've driven around to different cities, which is why I was late here. It's because you go to all these treatment plants and they either don't have the ability to take it or they only take within their city. And when you have their city, you have to have their address, their name, their phone number. And all these people around here there's a good percentage of people around here that have septic tanks. We only haul septic. We don't do grease or anything like that. So if these people can't afford to pay 3 times more, which I'm on the phone with people probably 10, 20 minutes each phone call because people don't even understand their septics. And people who do understand it also understand that they can barely even afford the rate that it's at now. So you go charge them 3 times the amount because we have to haul somewhere else. Their systems are going to fail. And when you have a field bed fail, it's going back into their house and out into the ground. And then it's going to cause a city issue. So we've been dumping here forever. And then all of a sudden we get a 30 days notice that it's not okay. So I think it's going to be a lot bigger of an issue than just, let's just see how it goes. Like how he said, it's not a thing that you can just see how it goes, where this could very quickly turn into a catastrophic event. But I mean, in my list, there's probably 4 within a 2-hour span that we could take it to. And we got 30 days. You can't buy the land, you can't build it. The permits, I've talked to the other companies and they can't even find the right person to go to get the permit to build it and have it incorrect. You talk to IDEM, they say it's a city issue. The city won't give us exact permits and exactly how to do it, even in our 30 days. So it's, no matter what we do, this is very quickly turning into a very bad situation. Well, absolutely.
Thank you, Chris.
Greetings, board. My name is Colin Ward. I work with the Indiana Department of Health. I work in the Environmental Public Health Division in the Southwest Indiana Regional On-Site Sewage Staffer. Crisis is a word that I think whenever I think about what's about to happen. I have communicated only since just last Tuesday, whenever I became aware of this potentially being an issue, in all sincerity. I am too deep in the woods with the work that I do with residential on-site sewage systems with local health departments. I oversee about 19 different counties with their programs in Southwest Indiana. Throughout the majority of Indiana, and a huge ongoing issue that we're seeing arise is where we're going to dump our wastewater. And a lot of the solutions that we see come up from county to county is to close the county lines and just take like you stated, it just take the wastewater coming from within the county. And also, like you stated, it's a concern because this reaches from Spencer County all the way to Posey County with our local health departments and what we need to do for eliminating wastewater in our septic tanks, because it's more than just holding tanks. It's routine maintenance on these systems. As soon as the septic system goes in, it's failing. It's not going to last indefinite. I've always told people, and I've worked on site since 2015, that the final fix is wastewater treatment plant. Really, we're just kind of limping along until we can get, hopefully, sanitary sewer to some of these areas. And I'll be honest with you, throughout a majority of Indiana, we will never get wastewater treatment plant to service a lot of the residents. But for the residents that this will affect, there's a concern of the cost measures for just the routine maintenance and what that will exacerbate for preventing the projected lifespan of an on-site sewage system, let alone the cost of a replacement soil absorption field, the whole kit and caboodle, because we're pushing upwards to now $30,000 for just a standard 3-bedroom design system, because that's just the market measure and the direction that we're going. And I understand that there is a concern for cost and maintenance and upkeep for what we're looking at here. And I know that that's an attributed factor to the decisions that are being made. But I would implore that there is a consideration put into place other than just essentially conducting a rug pull on an operation that will potentially lead us to not only a public health crisis, but an environmental crisis. The Pigeon Creek watershed. A lot of these sites that we're going to be looking at that are serviced by on-site sewage systems, and I've seen it way too much at the local level, up whenever I worked in Marion County at Indianapolis, and even here in Southwest Indiana Regional Staffer, where people just drop in some pumps into their tanks and just let it go to the ditch. That's going to end up downtown here at the river, which I know it's already not a very clean river, but to exacerbate that issue further would just be, in my opinion, a deplorable effort to not just do anything. The thing that I would ask you guys to consider outside of, I know, the cost measures that we're looking at, would be to at least push for some kind of amenable step forward to what we're looking at for these receiving stations, which I've seen the cross-section design. We're not offering much to these waste haulers as far as what we're looking in a pre-treatment option for connecting to the sewer. It's lacking a lot of information. You're just kind of setting them out there to the wind and having them figure it out on their own, because they contacted me. They were asking for state approval, and it's not through the Indiana Department of Health. So I had advised through IDEM, and they said no, because it's pre-treatment, that we would need to look at something to make amends to this issue. I don't know that just relying on a couple of local waste haulers to have their own on-site treatment is the remedial fix here, because that cost that they would pick up for that, I don't know that they wouldn't take advantage of that, honestly, because we're already dealing with a lot of folks that are impoverished, that can't afford the proper maintenance and routine that we would like to keep up. So we wouldn't want to kick them while they're down whenever they're having a failed system. So that's what I was always taught, was to never hit on enforcement versus education. So don't hit them with the citations for money that would just go be piddled away versus a fix to what they need. We're not going to keep the maintenance ongoing here, and it's just going to further, like I said, exacerbate the issues that we're already seeing throughout the state. I've spoken with a lot of the wastewater treatment plants locally, and like was already previously stated, they're only taking in county, or like in Owensboro, there's hope there, but they're looking at, putting a cap on that for their flow rate and what's demand of their wastewater treatment plant. Because I just spoke with the regulatory compliance worker there, that they're looking today, that they're looking at, potentially putting a cap on that. So if this closes, it's kind of just pushing that burden out, not only to for these water haulers to figure out what they need to do. And I'm only speaking wastewater. I know the fog situation is a whole other matter, but we're pushing it back on to the waste haulers and then also back on for even residents in the own county, because I live here. I live in Darmstadt. We have STEP there where we have to have our septic tank pumped every 3 to 5 years. It's a septic tank that connects to the sewer that runs to the lift station here to the Evansville water sewer utility. This will affect me. I'm not just some out of towner just speaking about something that I feel like, it doesn't really affect me, but no, I live here. And I do plan on living here for the remainder of my life. I just would hope that there would be some offer to give a little bit of limp along instead of just, we don't know what to do with it. We're just going to turn it off. There is wonderful technology out there, albeit I know a lot of it is expensive, but we could look at trying to go that route to at least increase, the cost to push it onto the waste haulers to the residents. Like everything else that we do, that we have to, I understand it costs money, but we didn't even try that. And I know there's been cost analysis to this, but like you're just going to, the other counties and out of state wastewater treatment plants are just going to shutter their doors. And what we're going to be left with is the mess. And the only recourse that the local health department has in matters like that would be to run the enforcement route when we can't get means to appease to get compliance. So that would force us to the local health department through the authority of the Board of Health and the health officer to push the dwelling unfit for human habitation. We'd be kicking people out of their homes. That's the last straw. And I know that's not a fun thing to hear, but it's a sincere and real consideration that needs to be understood that I felt like might have not been taken into consideration or account because, like I said, just heard about this last Tuesday. And this was from a Spencer County local health department, followed up by the Vanderbilt County Health Department, and then suddenly waste haulers. So I have only been dealing with this through Thanksgiving until now. It is a crisis that really needs to be taken into account. And I hope that you guys would take that into consideration prior to just shuttering the doors. I know maintenance is difficult, but maintenance can be covered in cost. I know the cost can be shared. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
for clarification, we've been talking about this for 6 months, not for a week.
Since I've April, but I have not heard about this.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this is not something that just arose on a week and a half ago. We've been struggling with this. Just to put it out there, the residents of Evansville pay some of the highest sewer rates in the state of Indiana. And our own rules don't let us take hauled waste from outside Vanderbilt County. We have been not obeying our own rules and accepting waste from Warwick and Spencer and Posey and so forth. So in point of fact, as I said, a lot of this is an accident of history and of things that have been going on for a long time. Septic is a real problem and wastewater treatment is a real problem. The state needs to do something about it, but it isn't reasonable to expect the residents of Evansville, who are already dealing with the center point rates, that are already dealing with the fact that our rates are high because we have to build the IOCP system for cleaning up the river and Pigeon Creek. Our residents are bearing a lot of costs already that are accidents of history because of the way our collection system is configured, because of the locality of the river, because of the shape of our landscape. We're struggling too. And all the residents of the city are struggling too. So, and what I'm hearing, and I understand this is the reality of the problem. The reality of the problem, it's not just Evansville's problem, it's everybody's problem, is that septic is expensive. And it's expensive to operate. It's expensive to clean it up. Our haulers will tell you that the residents can't pay what it costs to haul it here. Well, okay. It isn't, I don't know what we're being asked to do is to continue to have our residents bear the burden of septic and fog outside of their own service area, where they're already paying for their pipes, they're already paying for our pipes, they're already paying for their service lines and their sewer laterals and so forth. So we're keeping in mind the fact that we're trying to protect our residents and protect our customers from bearing these costs. And you're right, this is a hard problem. But the solution of the problem is not let Evansville pay for it. If we want to, if we move forward, we can look into alternatives like a septic dumping stations on the perimeter of the city so that you don't have to drive all the way into the city, that they'll be closer to where the septic is. The problem is, who's going to pay for that? I would love to see if, you know, I did some research to see if there was grant money available for doing that. There isn't. So it's going to have to come out of the ratepayers or out of the people who are dumping one way or the other. It's just not a simple problem. But our ratepayers are bearing this cost. And it's difficult for me to ascertain how we escape from that. So if we want to have a regional conversation about regional treatment plants, and you're right, most of the wastewater plants won't take from outside their service area. And there's a reason why. And this is the reason why. They can't charge the septic customers what it costs to treat their waste because their customers can't afford it. So you end up with the largest community subsidizing this activity for the whole region. And that's that is a major policy problem. And what we're trying to do is deal with our utility and how the ratepayers that keep us afloat are facing things. So I don't know what the regional solution is. I would certainly love to participate in a regional solution, but we can't keep going the way we're going. And we're faced right now with a system that breaks down frequently. It costs a lot of money to maintain it. Right now, we're trying to, when we talk about the end of December, we're talking about the fact that we don't want to have to spend another $250,000 on parts so that we can keep it going again without any revenue to cover it. So, you know, we can talk more about how all that works, but I don't know the right, there's not an obvious good outcome here. There's not an obvious right solution, but it's very difficult for me to say that it's the responsibility of the residents of the city to pay for the sewer, or to pay for wastewater treatment for the people who don't live here. And I don't know the solution.
Are there any other comments? Anyone would like to speak?
I'm Bob Shank, and I'm with TSF. And we've been through this since April, still working on it. And what I really don't understand is that we've been doing this since the late 60s, early 70s. And the Evansville wastewater treatment plant has been taking our waste and all the urban area since then. We've had our issues. We've worked with you guys, and we continue on working with you guys. And now all at once, It's a devastating problem. We still have our urban area. They still pay taxes, and it goes to the Vanderbilt County. And they are having septic issues, and they need to be attained. We, as pumpers, are out there doing pretty much what nobody else wants to do, but we do it because, number one, it's a living, and we've been inherited that from our grandparents, and we'll continue on. Now, the thing about it is that gets me, we have a multi-million-dollar plant over here that's been updated. And it has, from what I understand from different people, they can take on much more waste than what you're taking on now. We understand that the septic system, when we bring raw sewage in there, sometimes it hurts the plant. A lot of times it helps the plant because we putting bugs back in. We as pumpers go from one waste treatment plant to the other plant and hauling bugs because you don't have enough bugs or they don't have enough bugs to maintain it. And now, all at once, you want to shut us off, and there are various places that we, as TSF, have dumped before. We have dumped on the west side, we've dumped on 7th Avenue, we have dumped several different other places. And they always had room for the pumpers to do it. Although we are urban area, and they are septics, and there are people that have septic problems. Now, if we don't continue taking on the septic problems that this urban area have, they're going to fill up Pigeon Creek and pretty much any ditch they want, because if their toilet ain't flushing, just like anybody else here, if their toilet's not flushing, they're going to do whatever it takes to fix that issue. Number one is drop a pump in there and pump it to the nearest creek. So if we don't help this situation, we are going to have a real problem. So all we're asking is, please, give us a little more leniency and don't shut us off January 1st. We really have to have some way to sort it out, and you have given TSF and a couple other guys situation to fix this issue and help to put in our own dump plant. We are working on that, but we're working with bad weather as far as doing excavating and getting tap ins and stuff like that. It's a whole lot more time consuming than what you're giving us. So I think all of us in general here is pleading to knock out this cutoff date, January 1st, to start with, and then maybe we can work. You say it's so expensive for us as pumpers to dump at your $1 million plant that's just been improved and doubled the size. Give us the opportunity to help you. Is it going to, if we're going to raise the prices, then let's raise the prices to a certain amount to help eliminate this big problem. But we cannot shut the waste haulers down because they are doing you guys a public service. And to all the people that we invite to our community to live here. So give that some thought. And we're doing it as much as we possibly can to get a tap in to going. But it's a little more than just saying, okay, we're going to tap in the sewer. So do we just, okay, we got this place, you say it's okay, we're just going to hire a plumber and do that. Well, the plumber said, oh, no, we're not putting that tap in because we have to have permits, we have to have aerial things and whatever else you all got to have to do this. So please inform us what we need to do so we can get going, and we want to work with you guys. But keep in mind, guys, you just can't shut us off. It's gonna be bad for everybody. Good, Vic?
Good.
Okay,
Thanks.
Sean? We understand each other? Let's work together. Let's get this done, but let's not just shut us off. That's just not right. Just not right.
Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment? Seeing no one, then our next scheduled meeting will be September the 18th. Listen. September. I'm just a little
Oh,
behind.
that's a long break.
All right, so let's try this again. So we're going to meet December the 16th of 2025. It'll be at 3:00. It'll be here in the Sunrise Pump Station. Will be our next scheduled board meeting. I would move for adjournment. Motion is second. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, audience, for coming. We appreciate that.